Welcome back to another amazing video of Spacex Zone. In today's episode, we take a look at one of the newest achievements of SpaceX. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. SpaceX began installing one of Starship S20's 6 engines, one of at least 2 recently trucked to the launch site. It remains to be seen exactly how many engines will be installed on Ship 20, or how many will be ignited during its first static fire test. But barring the delivery of more Raptors, signs currently point to an initial test of 2 engines, one sea-level optimized Raptor Center (RC), and one Raptor Vacuum with a much larger nozzle. Whenever Ship 20 does fire up those engines, it will be the first static fire of an RVAC engine installed on a Starship, and the first simultaneous side-by-side static fire of 2 different Raptor variants. Since publishing time, SpaceX has canceled a Tuesday road closure, pushing Starship S20's first static fire attempt to no earlier than next Wednesday evening. For the 3rd time in 2 months, SpaceX has begun installing Raptor engines on its first orbital-class Starship prototype, hopefully for good. In no uncertain terms, Starship 20's S20 path to what could be its last Raptor installations has been about as windy and mysterious as they come. Starship 20 S20 left the Starbase factory floor for the first time in early August, all 6 Raptors installed in another program first, for a brief fit check and photo op. After spending about an hour installed on top of Super Heavy Booster 4 B4, Ship 20 was removed and returned to the build site, where teams removed all 6 engines and finished wiring and plumbing the vehicle. Days before the ship's long-anticipated trip to Starbase's suborbital launch site for qualification testing, the mount SpaceX prepared for the process quickly had hydraulic rams, used to safely simulate Raptor thrust, were abruptly removed. Starship S20 was then installed on the Pad B mount, where SpaceX proceeded to reinstall 6 Raptors. Weeks later, after slow heat shield repairs neared completion, SpaceX again removed Ship 20's Raptors and reinstalled the hydraulic rams it had removed, unused the month prior. Finally, on September 30th, some 7 weeks after the prototype arrived at the suborbital launch site, SpaceX put Starship S20 through its first major test, a lengthy cryoproof. Now, 10 days after completing a seemingly flawless cryoproof test on its first try, SpaceX has once again trucked multiple Raptors, at least 1 sea-level and 1 vacuum engine, from the Starbase build site to Starship S20's suborbital test stand. From the outside looking in, it's hard not to view the contradictory path S20 took to its first tests, and is still taking to its first static fires, as an unusually visible sign of some kind of internal tug-of-war or major communication failure between different SpaceX groups or executives. It's impossible to determine anything specific beyond the apparent fact that several of the steps taken from Ship 20's first factory departure to its first cryoproof and static fire tests could have probably been deleted entirely with no harm done and many dozens of hours of work saved. At the end of the day, Starship S20 completed cryoproof testing without issue on the first try and is now seemingly on track to begin its first static fire test campaign later this month. In October, SpaceX has 3 possible static fire test windows scheduled from 5 p.m. to midnight on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, October 12th to 14th. A similar Monday window was canceled days ago on October 7th, suggesting that more cancellations are probably on the horizon. For now, there's a chance that Starship S20, with anywhere from 2 to all 6 Raptor engines installed, will fire up for the first time before next weekend. It's hard to say how exactly SpaceX will proceed. It's not inconceivable that SpaceX will install all 6 engines and gradually ramp up to a full 6-engine static fire over several tests. Given that SpaceX has already static fired 3 Raptor Center RC engines on multiple Starship and Super Heavy prototypes, odds are good that Starship S20's test campaign will be similar, beginning with a 3 Raptor static fire in other words. SpaceX could then add 1, 2, or all 3 Raptor vacuum engines into the fray for 1 or more additional tests, with 4 to 6 engines total. It's also possible that suborbital launch mount and pad limitations will prevent more than 3 engines from firing at once, in which case SpaceX would presumably perform 2 separate tests of Ship 20's Raptor Center and Raptor vacuum engines. Given that 2 Raptor variants have never been static fired simultaneously on the same vehicle, It's hard to imagine that SpaceX won't also want to perform one or several combined static fires with Raptor Vacuum and Raptor Center engines on Ship 20. That's it for today. We hope you liked this great achievement. Please hit the like and subscribe button for more out-of-space content.